Here we are. It's Bay Harbor Marina, and I think it's May 3rd. It's a Monday. Took a day off from work to finish working on Baker's Dozen here. We're in the unheated storage boat barn. Unheated storage is not very popular anymore, and nonetheless we were kind of crowded in here earlier. There was a boat next to Baker's Dozen which is no longer there, and other boats in front. But now I'm one of the few sailboats left here. There's some more down farther, but most everybody's over in heated storage or already in the water. So I've been working away for several weekends, and we'll show first of all the big project this spring was refinishing this tow rail, that dark mahogany that goes all the way around the boat. It's mahogany and it's stained and varnished, and I usually do it about every 10 years. Take it down to bare wood and start over again. This year it's been about 15 years, I think. Every year I sand it down and add 2 coats of varnish or so to maintain, to keep it from building up too much, and to protect against UV damage, ultraviolet light, because it's sitting outside. Imagine having your mahogany furniture sitting outside all summer and then taking it inside only in the wintertime. It wouldn't last very long. So this is kind of the same way. And so last fall I started removing it with paint remover, all that old varnish, and it was really stubborn. Modern paint removers are safe, and they're so safe that they're very safe for varnish. They don't hardly pose a threat. Finally I got it off last fall, which was good because it gave me a head start. And this spring I stained chemically and with pigmented stain the mahogany, and then I've got about 7 or 8 coats of varnish on so far. I've also been working on the black stripe here, which you see, which is called the boot top stripe on a boat. And our boot top stripe is a little bit low, and so it gets growth on it all summer long, about 1/4 inch up, 3/8 of an inch up, maybe 1/2 an inch. And it gets pretty hard. And because of the pandemic last year, I didn't do enough preparation and cleaning, so we had 2 years worth. And I finally took a sander to it and just sanded off the hard stuff. Lime away wouldn't do it, vinegar wouldn't do it, wire brush with lime away didn't do it. So we sanded it off and painted it again, the bottom. And under here we have the keel, and you can see 2 different colors of red. There's a darker red spot. That's where I scraped off the old paint down to the bare iron. That's an iron ballast keel. And primed it with a really fancy urethane primer made for underwater use by Pettit. It's really nice stuff, but it's kind of picky about how you put it on. You have to put it on in coats 2 hours apart so it sticks to itself, it chemically bonds, and then preferably you will put the final coat on top within 2 hours of the second coat. So I did that, and I'll add some more bottom paint here. You can see up here some missing parts of the red paint where I had masking tape to do my boot top stripe. There's some more down there. And next weekend I'm going to add some more masking tape and paint that where it's missing. It's anti-fouling paint. It has poison in it. It has copper in it to discourage plant growth and other animals, and animal growth in the tropics at least. Here it's mostly plant growth. We do have zebra mussels, and this keeps them off. And so every year we have to make sure that's intact. Here's the mast, which is spruce on Baker's Dozen. It's rare in that most boats now have aluminum masts, and some fancy ones have carbon fiber, and almost nobody has a wooden mast anymore. This is one of very few in the area. I think it's the only varnished one in the marina. There may be 2 other boats with wooden masts. Mine is varnished, and I didn't varnish the whole thing this year, but see the blue tape there, masking tape marking a spot where I've just done some touch-up, removed damaged varnish, and applied a couple coats so far. And I've marked it all the way along here with little spots of blue tape showing where I have done some repair work. So I'll be able to cover each of the spots with varnish. And again, I've got 2 coats on. I'll get a third one on before I leave, just trying to build it up. Then next weekend I'll put a strip of masking tape on each side, right down the side of the mast. On top here you can see the sail track, and I will put masking tape about an inch down on each side, and then sand and varnish that whole edge on either side of the sail track, which tends to get a little bit of abuse from the sail slides and such. Also, normally the mast is upside down, or at least not in this position, and when I varnish it I tend to neglect the bottom side of it so that's why this needs it. So that will get done next weekend. And here's today's project. The wood around the cockpit is called the coaming, and the cockpit coaming is also mahogany. It's not stained as dark as the tow rail, although I'd like to do that next time. Because of the way the fiberglass hull was designed and the mahogany is secured to it, it's really hard to keep water out. There's a downward curve where the fiberglass meets the mahogany. It's a really bad design in terms of keeping water out, and the sealant I've been using hasn't held up very well, so moisture gets in there and it lifts off the varnish, and it was looking really bad this year. And so instead of doing the whole thing, which I don't have time for this year, I've just sanded it lightly, got some of the bad spots down to bare wood. I'm going to slap some varnish on right now, and then 2 more coats next weekend just before launch, and call it good. We can't have everything perfect. We call it good enough sometime when that's all we can do. Up here we have my blue tent. I went out and bought a blue tarp because I discovered they had put my boat under the only leak in the whole building. There's a leak in the roof right over the stern of Baker's Dozen here, and I wanted to keep the water off when the varnish was off the tow rail and while I've been varnishing it. So I made this blue tarp tent just to keep the water off, and it's raining today and I heard some drips falling, so I'm glad it's there. Working on the boat requires lots of paraphernalia. One of the most important ones when you're varnishing is the vacuum cleaner. This is my garage sale special, my good old trusty shop vac. That's what it gets used for, cleaning out the truck and working when I'm varnishing. If you don't have a vacuum cleaner when you're varnishing, you end up with lots of little stuff. Even though you wipe it down, you can't wipe everything out of the little cracks and crevices. It ends up in your brush and it makes things look lousy. I've got a little detail sander here I've been using today to sand on that coaming. That helps. And I've got boxes of stuff. I've got my box with sandpaper and rubber gloves and some painting materials, the little trays for the bottom paint. Another box with cans of bottles of solvent in it. Beyond that, a white box with just a bunch of stuff, measuring cups for mixing things, some more solvents, roller covers, wax, cans for cleaning brushes. Here's my crucial box. This is the one that contains all the cool stuff, the paints and the varnishes and the sealers, the masking tape and the brushes, the magical stuff. And down here we have my can of varnish. It's bar varnish intended for boats. It's pricey, but it's durable, and that's what we got. Here's the other end of the mast on its little roller stand, so I can move it around. We got the whole mast here. We look this way direction. We can look out the door where it's really bright. We'll be going out that door next Monday. That's all for now. Actually, it's not quite all. The last big project. Here's the outboard motor. Outboard motors are made out of aluminum, and copper, which is in the bottom paint, the anti-fouling paint, don't get along well. They make a battery together when they're in a liquid electrolyte, and so you can't put the red bottom paint, anti-fouling paint, on the outboard motor. I've been trying. This is one I bought